Hello everyone and welcome to another random bits and pieces segment from my brain, and today, sit a while for we are playing some more Franchise Hockey Manager 6 as part of the Ottawa Senators. So in the last video we did pretty good actually. I believe we lost only one game in January, and as a result our record is 43-6-4, and we are comfortably atop the Eastern Conference with a 23-point lead over the Philadelphia Flyers. Now we are in February, so that means that it's usually the month where I do my contract renewals. As you can see, I am trying to bring back most everybody. So Thornton, Arkhipov, Shar, Schubert, Eliash, Bachinski, Alfredson, Ladislav Nagy, and Chris Neal. So a wide range of talent there. Some, depth players, some definite star players as well mixed in. That's because I am starting to have not a lot of players under contract, so obviously I kind of need to have some depth and everything. So that's why a guy like Schubert is being signed, because as you can see, when injuries on the bottom right side there start piling up, you need players that are able to play at least above a alpha star talent. So trying to bring back some of those guys, and of course I don't want to let go of my core, although I will say this, there is one name that needs to be re-signed that I will not be bringing back, and it's Tim Thomas. Ryan Miller is shouldering most of the work, so it doesn't make much sense for me to spend a few millions on a backup goaltender. I do have Ray Emery in the pipelines and everything, so I think I'm gonna be good with Emery and Ryan Miller. So Tim Thomas is not being re-signed, and neither is Adam Denmarsh. So I did like having Adam Denmarsh on the team and everything, but at this point he can be replaced by a younger, cheaper talent. So that's pretty much where we're at here. So today we are going to be playing February of 2005, and the first one on our plate there is going to be the St. Louis Blues that we are going to host at home. So St. Louis is 23-24-6, so just hovering around that 500 mark and everything. I believe that they hold the 8th spot in the West as we saw in the last video. So we're gonna take a look at their lineup here, since it's the first time we are playing against them. Now let's see here. So Nicholas Wallin is hurt, he's not going to be playing. So in net it's not too crazy. Marek Schwartz and Chris Mason are in net. Yanni Nidima, Kurtz, Dempsey, Polak, Ulanov, Jackman, Roach are the defenders. That's not that great. Not a lot of movement from the back end, that's for sure. And then we have Marty Risner, Jay McClement, Steve Hines, Shannon, Zinoviev, Kayanik, Bates, Anzus, Primo, Bacchus. Oh, David Bacchus has entered the universe. 40-year-old Brett Hall, Yann Laperriere, Lee Stepniak, and Mark Rycroft. So yeah, it's not there's definitely a few good players on the team, but it's not too crazy. Let's see if we can beat them. So they have Chris Mason in net. We are going with Tim Thomas, giving him a chance to pad some stats so that he can get a decent contract on the free agent market. I might trade him, we'll see. Alright, so go Sens go. And we start with a win, 5-1 is the final score here. We outshot the Blues 44-15. Alexei Yashin was the first star of the game. He had a goal and an assist. Volchenkov was the second star with a goal and an assist as well. And finally, Pavel Datsyuk was the third star with a goal. We had 16,217 people in attendance for that game. Alexei Yashin opened up the scoring in the first period from Daniel Alfredson. It was 1-0 Sens after 1. Then in the second period, Pavel Datsyuk scored on the power play from Brian McCabe and Martin Avlat. It was 2-0 Sens after 2. And then in the third period, Matt Cullen scored his fifth from Zdeno Chara and Adam Denmarsh, made it 3-0. Then St. Louis scored. It was 3-1, but we scored 2 more goals. So Anton Volchenkov from Alexei Yashin and Karel Rakunek. And finally, Mike Fisher from Anton Volchenkov and Joe Thornton. 5-1, the final score. Alright, so it looks like we have a lot of news, but it's mostly because it's all of my contract extensions that have kicked in. So Daniel Sedin extends his goal streak to 5 games with 2 goals against Anaheim. Eugene Melnick is still very happy. We went 14-1 in the last month. Marian Osa should come back soon. Alright, so Shara signed an extension. Eliash signed an extension. Brendan Bochinski signed an extension. Daniel Alfredson signed an extension. Nagy, Chris Neal, Joe Thornton, Denis Arkhipov, Christoph Schubert. Now, keep in mind, the salary cap is coming next year. So I might have to shed some salary there. We will see. Ryan Miller is still pretty much a steal at his current salary. Eventually he's going to get paid. So I'm not sure what's going to happen there. I'm probably going to need to shed some salary. That's why I re-signed a bunch of cheap contracts and everything. Well, I won't know until I get there. What I don't know is if they are going to have the real life salary cap numbers, like, you know, what the salary cap started as in 2005, 2006. I don't know if they're going to go with that, or if they're, you know, if the engine is going to create it depending on the salaries that are currently in place in the league. I don't know that. I think that it's going to be the real life numbers, but I am not completely positive about that. So that's something we're going to have to see and deal with when it comes. And I might have to trade some players for some, you know, young players, because I cannot trade for picks either, because I don't have draft picks. So it's probably going to get pretty tough there. We'll figure it out once we get there. So so those are the guys that I am not going to re-sign. So Tim Thomas being the biggest name, of course, and then Adam Denmarsh and Vaclav Nidoros are not going to be coming back. So that's pretty much where we're at with that situation. Alright, we are going to advance one more day. Andrew Hutchinson has a great game with Pittsburgh. He had 4 assists against the Flames. Pretty good game. Dion Phaneuf is back from suspension in Calgary. Alright, and we are about to play against the New York Rangers. So it's tough for the Rangers this year. They are 20-28-6, which is good for 11th in the East. We are 2-0-1 against the Rangers this year. The one being a tie. I believe that's going to be the last year we have ties. So we had a 3-3 tie against them. We are playing at Madison Square Garden on the road, of course. So let's see if we can beat them. We're going back to Ryan Miller. They are going to Henrik Lundqvist. And we lost 3-2, so the Rangers have beat us. We outshot the Rangers 34-19 Andy Delmore was the first star of the game. He had a goal. Alexei Yashin was the second star with 2 goals, and Fedor Tsutin was the third star with no points. So the Rangers took a 2-0 lead into the first period here. So it was Doug White and Andy Delmore that scored. Then in the second period, we had Alexei Yashin score from Daniel Alfredson and Derek Morris. It was 2-1 after 2. Then Alexei Yashin scored on the power play from Brian McCabe and Jason Spezza. It was tied at 2, but with a minute 40 seconds to go in the third period, Brian Leach scored what would be the game winner, and we lost that game 3-2. So Jesse Bonhomme and Mike Dunham are available on waivers. So Dunham is probably a good catch for a team that needs goaltending. I mean, he's not ridiculously good or anything like that, but it's still a star-and-a-half goaltender. He's still capable. Scott Niedermayer played in his 1000th game in this universe. He didn't get a point, and he played that against the Montreal Canadiens. Willie Mitchell in Philadelphia is suspended. He's going to miss 8 games. And Josh Langfeld is back from suspension in Carolina. And Marianosa is really about to come back, which is great. And we are about to play against the Philadelphia Flyers, who have a great record. They are 33-17-3, which is good for second in the East. We are 2-0 against the Flyers this year. We are playing them at home, so let's see if we can beat them again. So Patrick Desrochers in net for the Flyers. We are going to Ryan Miller. Go Sens go. We lost 5-2. Wow, we 2 losses in a row. What's going on? We outshot the Flyers 30-24. Martin St. Louis was the first star of the game. He had a goal and 2 assists. Rod Brind'Amour was the second star with a goal and an assist, and Jeff Carter was the third star with a goal and an assist as well. We had 15,368 people in attendance for that game. So Philadelphia took a 1-0 lead into the first period. Then Jeff Carter scored on the power play in the second period, made it 2-0. Until Pavel Datsyuk scored from Joe Thornton and Tim Gleason. It was 2-1 Flyers after 2. And we actually tied the game. Matt Cullen scored from Karol Rakunek and Adam Denmarsh. It was tied at 2, but then the Flyers would score 3 unanswered. And it was too little too late. Obviously at that point we lost 5-2, so we got our ass handed to us. Chris Neal getting more comfortable playing at center for some reason. Alright, and we have kind of a break here of 5 days before we play again. Maybe it's because it was the All-Star game or something. Eric Kearns available. I'm not picking him up. Steve Moore in Toronto is back from suspension. Alright, Marianosa is ready to come back, I believe. Which is great news. Yes, he is. Come back in the lineup. Thank you. And I can send Chris Neal back down before he becomes a center. Alright, Timo Parssinen and Jeff Taffy are available on waivers. I'm not picking them up. John Madden remains with New Jersey. He signed a 1-year extension at $3.14 million. Decent stats for John Madden. 30 points in 53 games. Pretty good. Oh, so now I have Martin Avlat that's hurt. Oh, that's beautiful. Just what I needed. Yeah, I think it was the All-Star break in real life that was planned. I mean, that All-Star game never happened, but there hasn't been any games for a few days. All right. Sheldon Surrey is about to come back. That is good news. And we are about to play the Washington Capitals, who are having a pretty decent season as well. They are 30, 23, and 2. That's good for third in the East because they are first in their division. So we have 1 win and 1 tie against the Washington Capitals this year. And we are playing on the road right now. Alright, so Ryan Miller is going to be in net for the Ottawa Senators, and Olaf Kolzig is going to be in net for the Washington Capitals. And we won 4-3, made us work for it. We're struggling a little bit. I mean, that's a win, but that's not a convincing win. Well, the shots were, I guess. We outshot Washington 52-18. Pavel Datsyuk was the first star of that game. He had 2 goals and an assist. Peter Bondra was the second star with 2 goals. And Joe Thornton, third star with 2 assists. So Washington actually took the lead in the first period. So it was 1-0 Capitals after 1. Then they took a 2-0 lead at the start of the second period, and then we tied the game. So Datsyuk scored from Derek Morris and Joe Thornton. Then Datsyuk scored his 20th from Thornton and Osa. It was tied at 2. Then Washington took the lead again. It was 3-2, and then we scored 2 more goals. So Mike Fisher from Karel Rakunek and Anton Volchenkov, and finally Marian Osa from Pavel Datsyuk and Jason Spezza. It was 4-3 Sens, and nobody would score in the third period, so that was our final score. Right, Scott Walker is back from suspension in Dallas. No miss time for Islanders Stéphane Quintal, so no suspension for him. There was no stopping Eric Cole, who had a hat-trick 3 goals against the Rangers. Alright. And Patrick Eliash is looking good, so he's probably going to be back from injury pretty soon. Yeah, that's 3 decent players there that I want to have back. Andy Roach is available. Good for him. Mark Recchi has played in 1,250 games, and he celebrated with a goal against San Jose. So 37-year-old Mark Recchi, 3-star talent, and as we saw in a previous video, failed actor. He took it pretty bad. Another milestone for games played is Pavel Bure played in his 1000th game with Vancouver, so good for him. No point for him, though. 33-year-old Pavel Bure, 2-star player now. And in that game, Daniel Sedin extended his point streak to 12 with 2 goals and 3 assists against Calgary. Wow. Alright, and we are about to play in Carolina against the Hurricanes. Hurricanes are 23, 22, and 10, which is good for 7th in the East. So if the season was to end right now, they would be in a playoff spot. We are 2-0-1 against the Carolina Hurricanes. Let's see if we can beat them on their home ice. We are turning to Ryan Miller for that game. They are going with Sean Burke. And it's a shutout for the Sens. We won 2-0. Good game. So we outshot the Carolina Hurricanes 37-21. Jason Spezza was the first star of the game with 2 assists. Pavel Dimitrov was the second star without a point. And Alexei Yashin, third star with a goal. So we opened up the scoring in the first period. It was Marian Osa on the power play from Jason Spezza and Michael Ryder. So 1-0 Sens after 1. And then the second goal of the game came late in the third period. Alexei Yashin scored from Brian McCabe and Jason Spezza. 2-0 was the final score. Jaromir Jagr has accomplished 700 goals in his career. He had 2 goals and 2 assists against the Islanders. Pretty good. very good even. Saku Koivu is suspended in Montreal. He's going to miss 9 games for the little Viking. Chris Chelios has competed in 1,500 games. Didn't get a point, and it was against the Oilers. Patrick Eliash is about to come back. Alright, so we are about to play against Montreal, who are going to be without Saku Koivu. Daniel Sedin extends his point streak to 13 games with 2 goals against Anaheim. Keith Ballard in LA is suspended. He's going to miss 7 games. Memorable game for Ilya Kovalchuk, who had 3 goals and an assist against the Flames. And Patrick Eliash is healed. I don't know if I can take him off. Yes, I can. Alright, and we are about to play the Montreal Canadiens. Montreal turned things around, so at one point they were talking about firing Ken Hitchcock, but they've won some games since, and now they are 31-23-2, which is good for 6th in the East. We are 3-0 against the Habs this year. Hopefully we keep a perfect record. You all know how I feel about the Habs, so I don't like losing against them. Ryan Miller is going to be in net for the Ottawa Senators, and Dwayne Roloson is going to be in net for the Montreal Canadiens. And it's another shutout, 3-0 the win for the Sens. I am happy with that result. We outshot Montreal 36-24. Patrick Eliash was the first star, he had 2 assists. Michael Ryder was the second star with 2 goals, and Daniel Alfredson was the third star with 2 assists as well. Alright, so all of the scoring happened in the third period, so it was 0-0 going into the third, and then Michael Ryder scored from Ladislav Nagy and Patrick Eliash, was 1-0 Sens. Then Michael Ryder scored late in the period again, his second of the game, from Matt Cullen and Daniel Alfredson, and then finally Chris Phillips scored in an empty net with a minute to go from Patrick Eliash and Daniel Alfredson. 3-0 was the final score. Zdeno Chara got hurt in that game, and he's gonna miss 4 weeks. Yikes. Intercostal strain. Alright. Alright, so Chara is hurt. I don't like that. At least it's not in the playoffs. But it's definitely gonna hurt us. So, who am I calling back up? So, we still have Sheldon Surrey, that's hurt. Oh. But he's about to come back. Let's get Sheldon Surrey back on the lineup. Because he's about to come back anyway. Oh, he can't play though. With a broken toe. Maybe he's going to be able to play before the next game. It's in a few days. It's in 3 days. So he has 3 days to get better. Alright, Martin Havlat back sooner rather than later. That would be good. But I really need Sheldon Surrey to come back though. Oh, Vladimir Orsa is available, and so is Raimo Elminen. Oh, Raimo Elminen is now 40 years old, still playing in the league. Wow. A strong game for Justin Kurtz. He had a hat-trick, 3 goals against the Florida Panthers. Daniel Sedin's point streak ended at 13 games. He was held scoreless against the Wild. Martin Havlat really about to come back. Keith Tkachuk has produced 300 goals in his career. He had a goal against Philadelphia. So 32 years old, Keith Tkachuk, 2.5-star player. Memorable night for Teemu Selanne. who had a hat-trick in that same game against Philadelphia. Anson Carter in Dallas is not suspended. And Martin Havlat is completely recovered. Now, Sheldon Surrey should be coming back soon. I mean, I do have Karel Rakunik that can step in, but basically my first pair of defense is hurt right now because my first pairing is Shara and Surrey. So, yeah. Alright, so we are playing against the Atlanta Thrashers. Atlanta is 27, 28, and 5. That's good for 8 in the East. We are 2-1 against the Thrashers this year. They did beat us 3-1. I believe it was the last game we played against them. So Curtis Joseph, Cujo is going to be in net for Atlanta. Ryan Metter is going to be in net for the Ottawa Senators. And we won 2-1. We outshot Atlanta 55-15. Curtis Joseph was the first star of the game despite the loss with 53 saves. Dan Boyle was the second star with an assist, and Alexei Yashin was the third star with a goal and an assist. So the game was in Ottawa. We had 16,253 people in attendance for that game. Alexei Yashin opened up the scoring in the first period. It was his 20th of the season from Jason Spezza. Was 1-0 Sens after 1. Then Jim Fahey scored in the second period, tied the game at 1. And then in the third period, with a little bit more than 5 minutes to go in the period, Jason Spezza scored on the power play from Alexei Yashin and Patrick Eliash, and that was the game winner. Derek Morris is suspended. Alright, he's going to miss 7 games. I don't need that. Alright, I'm going to wait until the last second to see if Sheldon Surrey is going to come back. I play in 2 days at home against Vancouver. Joel Bouchard is available on waivers. I'm not that desperate for a demon. Thomas Plekanec in Montreal had a great game. He had a hat-trick against Florida. Alexander Karpatsev is available on the waivers. Right, no further punishment for Martin St. Louis, so not suspended. Sheldon Surrey is doing better. I'll check to see if he's available to play. And then there's been a trade between the Dallas Stars and the Carolina Hurricanes. So the Stars are sending Matthias Johansson and Viktor Yukevatov to the Carolina Hurricanes for Ruslan Saleh and Jeff Irma. So it's basically Saleh for Johansson. Yeah, it's about an even trade, I would think. I can't say that anybody got really the better of it. So Sheldon Surrey should be able to play this game. He's gonna need to because Derek Morris is suspended. So we are playing at home against the Vancouver Canucks. Vancouver is 26, 28, and 4. And we did play in Vancouver earlier this year and we lost 1-0. So let's see if we can beat them this time. Alright, so Marty Turco is going to be in net for the Vancouver Canucks and Ryan Miller in net for the Ottawa Senators. And hopefully we don't face Vancouver in the Stanley Cup Finals because they beat us again, this time 3-2 in overtime. So we've been having a few losses this month. Alright, so we did outshoot Vancouver 58-29. Nolan Baumgartner was the first star of the game. He had 2 assists. Marian Osa was the second star with 2 assists. And Marty Turco, third star with a 56 save performance. We had 15,755 people in attendance for that game. So we did open up the scoring in the first. It was Tim Gleason. It was his 10th of the season from Marian Hossa and Pavel Datsyuk. Then Pavel Bure tied the game at 1 before the end of the period. So it was tied at 1 after 1. Nobody scored in the second period. Then we took a 2-1 lead in the third. It was Patrick Eliash on the power play from Jason Spezza and Marian Hossa. And then Vancouver tied the game up again, and it was tied at 2. And we went in overtime, and Brent Sopel played the hero with a goal and gave Vancouver the 3-2 win. And Mike Fisher got hurt, and we're starting to get injuries quite a bit. Alright, so Mike Fisher is now injured. How long are you hurt? 1 to 2 weeks. I'll get Arkhipov back up. Alright, so we have injuries, suspensions. We're losing. Things are difficult. Kevin Constantine's job on the line in Pittsburgh already. He just literally last month replaced Scotty Bowman, and they're thinking about replacing him again already. Alright, great night for Ilya Kovalchuk, who had a hat-trick, 3 goals against Montreal. Nikolai Antropov extends his goal streak to 5 games with a goal against the Islanders. Alright, Denis Arkhipov wants number 25 again. He can have it. There you go. Alright, and we are hitting the road. We are going to be playing in Boston. Oh! It would appear that there's been a pretty important trade there. Sure enough, wow. So the Detroit Red Wings traded Niklas Kronwall. So they didn't keep him. Wow. So Niklas Kronwall was traded to the Calgary Flames along with Stu Barnes. So the Detroit Red Wings got Stu Barnes in a trade earlier this season, but now they traded Niklas Kronwall and Stu Barnes to the Flames for Corey Stillman and Emmanuel Peter. Well, Kronwall's a good defenseman. Corey Stillman's not a bad player, though. So what I wonder is what the Detroit D looks like now without Kronwall in the lineup anymore. That's a pretty interesting trade. I like it. Alright, so we are going to be playing in Boston. Boston is 29, 28, and 4. That's good for 7th in the East. We are 3-0-1 against the Bruins this year. We're going to go with Ryan Miller. They are going with Yevgeny Nabokov. And we won 42. That losing stuff is over, hopefully. So we outshot Boston 45-31. Pavel Datsyuk was the first star of the game. He had 3 assists. Nate Thompson was the second star with 2 assists. And Joe Thornton, third star with 2 goals. So Boston actually took a 1-0 lead into the first period, but then we scored twice before the end of the first period. So Joe Thornton scored from Pavel Datsyuk, and then Alexei Yashin on the power play from Patrick Eliash and Brian McCabe. 2-1 Sens after 1. And then we took a 4-1 lead into the second period. So Joe Thornton scored on the power play from Pavel Datsyuk, and then Sheldon Souray is 10th from Marian Hossa and Pavel Datsyuk. 4-1 Sens. Frederick Modine for Boston scored in the third period, made it 4-2, but it was too late at that point. We had already a good lead, and we won 42. Willie Mitchell in Philadelphia is back from suspension. No further punishment for Braden Coburn in Atlanta. He's not suspended. Luke Robitaille keeps fans on their feet all night with 3 goals and 2 assists against Nashville. Pretty good game for Lucky Luke. He's 39 now, and he's only a star and a half player, so he's probably going to retire soon, I would say. Sheldon Surrey is finally completely healed, and we are about to go and play in Pittsburgh. So there's already only 4 games left in the month. So, and then after that, it's going to be the month of March, which usually is typically one of the busiest months of the season. That's also going to be my 100th video for this series. That is crazy. I'll be honest, when I started to do this, I did not expect to go all the way to 100 videos, but you guys keep watching, so I keep making them. Alright, so Rick Gerard, is available on waivers. I am not going to pick him up. And Viktor Kozlov had a big game. He had 2 goals and 4 assists against Anaheim. Wow. And in that same game, Ray Whitney had a goal and 4 assists. Another good performance. Anaheim is not very good this year. People are kind of beating on them. Alright, so Kevin Constantine's job is in jeopardy in Pittsburgh already. We are playing in Pittsburgh. They are 21, 32, and 8, which is good for 12th in the East. At this rate, they are going to miss the playoffs. We are 3-0 against the Pittsburgh Penguins this year. Ryan Miller in net for us. Wade DeBillwicks in net for Pittsburgh. I'm sure I have massacred this guy's name about 10 different ways since doing this playthrough. I apologize. I'm pretty sure Wade is never going to be listening to this, but if you are, I apologize that my French accent is not able to pick up your last name all that great. Alright, and we won 6-2. We outshot the Pittsburgh Penguins 51-15. Patrick Elias was the first star of the game. He had a goal and 4 assists. Alexei Yashin was the second star with 2 goals and 2 assists. And Jason Spezza was the third star with a goal and an assist. So some pretty good offensive performances there. We opened up the scoring in the first. It was Martin Havlat from Patrick Elias and Alexei Yashin. 1-0 Sens after 1. Then Pittsburgh actually took a 2-1 lead early into the second period. They scored twice in 22 seconds. So they scored twice in 22 seconds at the start of the second. It was 2-1 Pittsburgh at that point. Then Alexei Yashin tied the game from Patrick Elias and Sheldon Surrey. Then Joe Thornton from Pavel Datsyuk and Sheldon Surrey. And finally Alexei Yashin from Chris Phillips and Patrick Elias. By that time it was 4-2 Sens after 2. And then we scored 2 more goals in the third period. Patrick Elias on the power play from Alexei Yashin and Jason Spezza. And Jason Spezza from Patrick Elias and Anton Volchenkov. 6-2 was the final score. Pretty good game for the Sens. And Patrick Elias had a memorable night with a goal and 4 assists. We were there. It was awesome. Everything was perfect. Esa Perns and Jan Vopat are available on waivers. No suspension for Dwayne Zinger in Dallas. And then we have a trade proposal from the Pittsburgh Penguins. They are offering us Aaron Rome for Adam Denmarsh. Actually, I think I'm going to do this trade. I mean, Aaron Rome is not a great defender or anything, but that's going to be depth defending. I'm not resigning Adam Denmarsh anyway. So I'm getting a young defenseman that's going to be able to play in the NHL if I need him. And I'm getting rid of a guy that, you know, I'm not keeping past this season, and he's not a super important part of my team right now. So I am completing this trade. Thank you for the trade. Now, that being said, I will need to bring up a forward from the minors to make up for that. So I have Chris Neal, Patrick Eves, Brandon Bochinski, Jacob Klippis, Vaclav Nidoros, and Brooks Like. I think I'm going to bring up Brooks Like at this point. I have plenty of right-wingers. Sorry, Chris Neal, but I have a bunch of right-wingers on the team already. So we're going to go with Brooks Like, and we'll see what he can do. He is a 2-star player. And he is a point per game in the NHL with an assist in a game. Alright, so we are about to host the Montreal Canadiens on home ice. Montreal is now 32-28-2. They are still 6th in the East, and we are 4-0 against the Habs. Let's make it 5-0. Let's have a perfect record to finish the season against Montreal. They're going to send Dwayne Rolauson in net again, and we are going to go to Ryan Miller. And we won 4-1. We swept the Montreal Canadiens in the regular season series. We outshot Montreal 53-20. Alexei Yashin was the first star with a goal and an assist. Patrick Eliash was the second star with 2 assists. And Chris Phillips was the third star with a goal. We had 15,985 people in attendance for that game. So Montreal opened up the scoring in the first period. And then in the second period, we had Pavel Datsyuk tie the game, assisted by Joe Thornton. It was tied at 1 after 2. And then in the third period, Chris Phillips got the game winner from Alexei Yashin and Patrick Eliash. Then Alexei Yashin on the power play from Jason Spezza and Patrick Eliash. And finally, Anton Volchenkov scored in an empty net from Brooks Like and Denis Arkhipov at 4-1 the final score. So Brooks Like, another point in a game. Alright, so Tom Pricing in Philadelphia is not suspended. Alright, Peter Schaefer in San Jose is suspended. He's going to miss 5 games. Keith Ballard in LA is back from his own suspension. Alright, and now we are playing in Toronto against the Leafs. So the Leafs are doing pretty good. They are 40-20-4. That's good for 4th in the East. We are 3-1 against the Leafs this year. Let's beat them again. Ryan Miller is going to be in net for the Sens. Ty Conklin in net for Toronto. And we won 4-1. We outshot Toronto 48-13. Joe Thornton was the first star of the game. He had a goal and an assist. Pavel Datsyuk was the second star with 2 assists. And Marian Hossa was the third star with a goal. So the Ottawa Senators opened up the scoring in the first period. It was Marian Hossa from Karel Rakunek and Chris Phillips. Made it 1-0 after 1. And then there was no scoring until the third period. Matt Stajan, 37 seconds into the third period, tied the game on the power play. But then the Sens would score 3 unanswered goals. So Sheldon Souris scored from Joe Thornton and Pavel Datsyuk. Then Joe Thornton from Pavel Datsyuk and Brian McCabe. And finally, Alexei Yashin scored his 25th on the power play from Jason Spezza. And 4-1 was the final score. Sergei Brin lights the lamp for Montreal. He had a hat-trick 3 goals against the Islanders. Keith Primo in Boston is suspended. He's going to miss 9 games. Right, so Jean-Pierre Vigier is available, Turner Stevenson is available, and Alexei Vasiliev is available. I'm not picking up any of those guys. Suspension for Craig Conroy in LA. He is going to miss 6 games. Joe Sakic played in 1,250 games in his career. Didn't get a point, and it was against LA. So 35 years old, 3.5-star player still. Dwayne Zinger does get suspended this time in Dallas. He's going to miss 5 games. And finally, the last game of the month is going to be at home against the Tampa Bay Lightning. So we are going to be playing against the Lightning here. They are 16-39-7. That's good for 14th in the East. And of course, I believe they have Vincent Lecavalier hurt for a while, so that's probably not helping them very much. We are 3-0 against Tampa Bay this year. There is no reason for us to lose this game, so go Sens go. Alex Holt is going to be in net for Tampa Bay. We are going to Ryan Miller. And we lost 1-0, of course. I said there was no reason for us to lose this game. And, well, we couldn't win. We couldn't score. So Alex Holt was the first star of that game with 43 saves. And the shutout. Jason Spezza was the second star without a point, and Matthew Barnaby was the third star with an assist. We did outshoot Tampa Bay 43-18. And only 13,732 people in attendance for that game. And the only goal of the game happened almost at the midway point of the third period. It was Trent Hunter that scored, and that was the final score, 1-0. Not a great way to end the month, really. And after Barnaby was one of the reasons why they won that game, they waived him. So Matthew Barnaby is available on waivers right now. Alright, so John Leclerc has played in 1,000 games in his career, so he didn't get a point, and that happened against Buffalo. 35 years old, John Leclerc, 2-star player. Saku Koivu is back from suspension. Mike Fisher is feeling better. Alright, and the players of the month were Ryan Miller and Daniel Sedin. So despite losing a few games, Ryan Miller was still the first star, or was the best goaltender of the month last month. So we'll take it. We'll take it for sure. Alright, so let's see here. We are still atop of the Eastern Conference, of course. We are only 24 points ahead, so we only gained 1 point on our lead. So now we are 24 points ahead of the New Jersey Devils, which happens to be the team we're playing next. Actually, we're playing them at least 3 times next month. So that's pretty much what it looks like in the East. Now, if we look at the standings in the West, so we have Detroit, Phoenix, Colorado, Edmonton, Nashville, Los Angeles, San Jose, and Columbus. So we have some new teams showing up, like Nashville is doing alright. And Columbus is in a playoff spot. St. Louis is starting to drop. Dallas is climbing slowly. Remember, Dallas started really slow, and they made that trade for Danny Eatley and everything. And I was like, oh, it's not looking too good. But yeah, they are starting to climb back. They actually might get to a playoff spot. They're 5 points behind. That's totally doable for them. Alright, let's take a look at our stats. So we have Jason Spezza, who has 91 points in 66 games. That is pretty amazing. Patrick Eliash is 65 in 59. Yashin 62 in 66. So Yashin started super slow the year, and he's almost a point per game now. Osa is 59 in 54. Thornton 56 in 66. Datsyuk 51 in 66. Alfredson 33 in 64. From there it just goes down. It dwindles down. So yeah. And now if we look in the entire league, Daniel Sedin is now the best goal scorer. Danny Eatley kind of cooled off. He was holding that spot last month. Now he fell to 5th. So Daniel Sedin, 42 goals, first in the league. Jason Spezza, 57 assists, first in the league in that category. And Jason Spezza is the first scorer in the league with 91 points. That is 13 more than second place Daniel Sedin. Alright, so we are in a pretty good position here. So if playoffs were to start today, we would face the Bruins in the first round. So that's different than the Devils, Flyers, or Montreal Canadiens. That's for sure. So I'm going to go ahead and save my game. And as usual, I do want to thank you for tuning in. I do appreciate it. And if you've liked the video, feel free to like, subscribe, share, comment, all of that good stuff. And until I roll this game again, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.